I'm loving my Verizon FiOS. In fact, I recently joked that if we move, we have to find a place with FiOS coverage. To my surprise, our family actually agreed. Not only is FiOS the fastest internet service, it also has never been down, with the exception of when Storm Sandy hit us. And indeed, only FiOS gives you the same speed uploading for your files, photos, etc., as it does downloading, as in HD movies. Cable cannot offer you this, only FiOS. So go ahead, make a very smart choice with Verizon FiOS.
I'm not sure, but we're going to go real quickly to latenightparents.com, talk about one of the topics that I think I talk about the most, which is cyberbullying. What is it and how to stop it? Our good friends at Caller Smart reached out to us this past week to talk about cyberbullying. I mean, it's so important, nowadays with everyone with their mobile devices. Cyberbullying itself affects countless teens and adolescents. Just a 2015 random sample study of 11 to 15-year-olds in the Midwest found over 34% reported being a victim of cyberbullying in their lifetime. 34% of children between the ages of 11 to 15. Scary stuff. Other studies have found that in 1 of 4 teens have been cyberbullied. Victims of cyberbullying are much more likely to use alcohol and drugs, avoid school, and have poor grades, experience depression and low self-esteem, and may even contemplate suicide. Some serious stuff, So you got to ask yourself, for anyone that's had blinders on for the past, I don't know how many years, what is cyberbullying? I mean, and it's a very broad term, and it's basically any form of abuse repeatedly directed at a child through technology by another child. I mean, this could be an online, through social media like Facebook, or via text messages on their mobile phones. Some of the forms that cyberbullying can take can include many different things. Sharing and posting videos or photos on social media of a person that are cruel or in intention or violent all along. Sharing or posting videos or photos on social media via text that are sexual in nature or display violent sexual behavior. Making threats of physical harm towards a person or telling someone to kill themselves in email, text, or social media. And it seems like nowadays that's more the commonplace. I mean, there's all different types of bullying that happens all during the day, all during our walks of life. Attacking a person online or via text based on their physical appearance, religion, sexuality, or mental ability. Impersonating another person online in order to trick someone into revealing personal details and then sharing it with others. Hacking into another person's social media account or email in order to send untrue and cruel messages to others. I mean, I think we hit it dead on right there. I mean, it seems like nowadays there isn't a time where someone isn't getting hacked. There isn't a time where, what was originally happening to, third-party companies that are attached to these big companies. So, like when you hear a Target was hacked, it's per se not Target being hacked, but it's a third-party provider that's like a middleware that connects to the specific company and, reveals its personally identifiable information. with 92% of teens reporting going online at least once a day, and 24% stating that they are online constantly. The amount of potential exposure to cyberbullying is high. Unlike bullying, cyberbullying can be unrelenting and seem inescapable since it is online and on phones. It can happen at any time of the day, and it follows preteens and teens home after school and is often completely anonymous. Cyberbullies can create fake social media profiles and download apps that provide temporarily disposable numbers that allow them to send threatening text messages without the victim knowing the identity of the attacker. So you take a great product like Google Voice, which will allow you to spoof the specific number. So what, everyone knows, let's say my number, or like, let's say if my wife wanted to play a prank on me, she can go to Google Voice, associate her existing number with kind of like a ghost number out there, and play a prank without me even knowing. That tool itself, very dangerous. I mean, very helpful, because I can tell you, for one, I use Google Voice. Why? Because I need to know, who's calling me, number one, and I need to know what number. So let's just say if I had one phone, and one phone that I use for family primarily, I don't know if I want to give out that same number to, people I interact with online. Or do I give them that ghost number that I can attach to the account and then kind of take it from there? So, I mean, that's a benefit to using that type of technology, but there's a lot of bad behind it. In addition to, the messages being ghosted or hidden, images and videos can also spread very quickly via social media and group text messages. Once the information is shared, it's impossible to delete all the occurrences of it, since it's probably already been downloaded by individuals and repeatedly uploaded. So true. Girls are much more likely. I mean, here's some facts about cyberbullying. Girls, 40.6%, are much more likely to be victims of cyberbullying than boys. So that's 40% to 28%. Just slightly a shade under 29%. Girls also dominate social media, while boys tend to play video games. I could tell you, number one, I have a 14-year-old daughter who's on social media all the time, versus my son, who's, yes, he's only 9 years old, but he spends every chance he can get on his video game, on the Xbox One. And/or he spends, on time, kind of like the gaming sites, where not per se, more like esports he's interested in. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat are the top 3 popular social media platforms for teens. Facebook has created a bully prevention hub to help teens, parents, and educators stop cyberbullying on the site. Bullying and cyberbullying are closely related. Children who are victims of traditional bullying in school also experience cyberbullying at home. Children who bully traditionally will also bully children on social media and with text messages. In a random sample study, over 14% admitted to cyberbullying another person, with spreading rumors online via text or email being the most common form of bullying. A study from McAfee found that 87% of teens have observed cyberbullying, over 70% of teens have a smartphone, and 15% at least have a basic cell phone, making a text message one of the most common means of cyberbullying. Some cyberbullying laws. Each state has different laws and policies regarding bullying. However, there's no federal anti-bullying law at the moment. Of the 50 states that have anti-bullying laws, 23 states include the terms cyberbullying. 48 states include the definition of electronic harassment in their anti-bullying laws. The only state that does not require schools to have anti-bullying policy is Montana. Of the 49 states that have mandatory school anti-bullying policies, 14 states have mandatory off-campus anti-bullying policies as well. There's sexting laws that are out there. Think about it, as of last summer, only 20% of the states had sexting laws in place. All 20 states that have sexting laws address cases in which individuals sending the inappropriate content is under 18. Only 18 of the 20 states address cases in which the recipient of the messages, images, or video is under 18. There are currently 26 states that have laws in place to protect victims of revenge porn. There's a table that's available on Late Night Parents that will take you through the various states. How to stop cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is an issue, but it's one that can be stopped. There are many online resources that help both parents and children cope with cyberbullying and prevent it. What teens can do if they are a target of cyberbullying. Number one is you don't blame yourself for the unfair treatment you're receiving. Bullies have often been the victims of bullying themselves, and they treat you poorly so that they can feel control and power. Don't retaliate with more cyberbullying. It's best to just ignore a cyberbully if you can. You can block them on social media, block their text messages if you don't want to see them. Bullies are looking for a reaction when they attack a person. So if you turn the other cheek, they go away. If cyberbullying is getting out of hand and feels like it's too much for you to handle, talk to a trusted adult and ask for advice. Keep a record of the cyberbullying in case you decide to report the cyberbullying to authorities. With the proof of cyberbullying directly on your phone or computer, it can be easy to prove that you are being threatened and attacked by a cyberbully. Report offensive social media posts to the company. If you don't like what is being posted and you report it, if you are being harassed by text, by anonymous numbers, you can screenshot the text, block the number, and look it up in like a reverse phone lookup app. There's a specific app similar to Caller Smart. In their app, you can also report a harassing number by leaving your feedback so that others will know also to block the number. If you see cyberbullying, don't become a part of cyberbullying by sharing posts, texts, images, or videos which hurt others. Take a stand against cyberbullies. Support the person who's being bullied. Take the time to listen to them and let them know it's not their fault. Even if you aren't friends with the person being bullied, reach out, let them know that it's not their fault and that how they are being treated is not right. You got to report that offensive behavior. Most social media sites like Facebook and Instagram have made it easy to report posts that are inappropriate. To protect yourself from cyberbullying, you need to be careful with what you share online about yourself. Nowadays, everyone has a need to share everything. It's been like that the last, I would say, last 5 years or so, but at an all-time high now. If you share overly professional information publicly and even privately via text or private message a person that could use it against you in the future. Don't let other people use your smartphone since it contains personal information and people access your social media accounts from it. Preteens and teens usually won't share what's happening to them with their parents, so it's important for the parent to pay attention. You got to pay attention to any changes in your child's attitude and talk about the effects of bullying and what to do. Even if you don't think your child is the victim, they could be seeing cyberbullying every day. More importantly, if you're a parent, what can the question that I usually receive the most is for a parent, like, what should they do if their child is being cyberbullied? Tell your child that you love them, make them feel safe and supported in their home life. Talk with them and listen to what's happening to them. Encourage them to ignore and block the cyberbullying and not to retaliate. If the problem continues, help your child collect evidence, discuss reporting the cyberbully to school authorities, go over setting up stronger privacy settings in social media, and make sure they know how to report posts that they find hurtful and cruel. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Hearing that your child is being tormented can inspire a range of emotions, your overall emotional reactions, one of them being anger. So you got to make sure to be thoughtful and a good listener. Don't react quickly. This will only create more confrontation and problems. If your child is a cyberbully, now, personally, my son isn't a cyberbully, but I've seen him bully, others in school. And you got to address it. Because the first thing you're going to see is, as a parent, there's that level of denial. So if your child is a cyberbully, it could be because they were, at one point they were bullied themselves, either in person or over the internet. Talk to them about what they're doing and how they're hurting people. Make sure that they understand the severity of their actions. Talk to them about why they are doing, what they're doing, and listen to them. Don't react out of anger. Monitor their online and phone behavior to make sure that they are not continuing this type of behavior. If the problem persists and it does not seem like it's an isolated offense, involve your school authorities in order to show your child that this is a major problem. Worst comes to worst, you may want to see professional counseling to help your child overcome their problem. To prevent cyberbullying from happening, keep the family computer in a public area where you spend a good deal of time. Encourage offline time with your family. Try to have everyone disconnect for an extended period of time every evening. This could include having a family dinner or practicing some shared hobbies together. Have open conversations with bullies and cyberbullying. Discuss why it's wrong and what your child should do if they see it. Make sure your child knows how to maintain their digital reputation and know how not to share personal information that they wouldn't want to make public to anyone. You got to discuss how to use privacy settings and talk about how to block unwanted content and text messages. Teens can report offensive posts, images, and videos to the social media company, and they can report and block harassing numbers in a community phone book. So for more information on preventing cyberbullying and what to do if you're experiencing cyberbullying, go to connectsafely.org and the Cyberbullying Research Center.
Today's sponsor is Audible.com, who has more than 180,000 audiobooks and spoken word audio products. Get a free audiobook of your choice at www.audibletrial.com/late-night-parents. Why Audible? Audible content includes more than 180,000 audio programs from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. That's audibletrials.com/late-night-parents.
And they've been really patient because I think they were supposed to come on maybe just roughly about 2 minutes ago, but Lisa Cohen is the author of Being Too Fierce. It's one woman's incredible journey from a foster child to a world championship boxer. She grew up as a ward of the court and lived in 13 foster homes. In 1986, at the age of 28, she began boxing and turned professional in the next year, competing under the name Lisa Too Fierce Foster. We want to welcome Lisa P. Cohen. Lisa, how you doing?
Hi, how are you, Ted? Thanks for having
good.
me on.
Oh, please. Thanks so much for joining. And I know that last segment was a little lengthy, but cyberbullying is a very, very serious topic, and you know that from being a parent yourself.
Absolutely. I was listening because I agree with everything you said. It's important even to check our own children.
Yeah, it's so, Lisa, I'm getting a little off topic, but it's something when you find out that your son was involved in bullying, or your son or your daughter, and I ran into that situation, and it was disheartening, and there was a level of denial, but we had to address it. We had to address it,
Yes.
and at first I wanted to play the victim, but then I sat there, Lisa, and I said, "This is my son. I know my son, and could this potentially happen? Of course." But with that being said, Lisa, happy to have you on.
Thank you.
We'll take a few steps back, because I would like for you to share with our listeners, the late night parents, your childhood and your journey to becoming a boxer. Also, just I'm going to decrease, allow you to increase. I'm going to hit the mute button, and I want you to share your story.
Okay. Well, my name is Lisa Cohen, and I grew up here in Washington, D.C. I was born and raised here, and last year I published my book, Being Too Fierce, One Woman's Incredible Journey from Foster Child to World Champion Boxer. Now, when you first look at the book, the cover of the book, you'll see a picture of me in my boxing prime. But there's a ghostly figure right in the back of of me, that boxing photo. It's of me at about 8 years old. And it's a picture of me while I was in the mix of one of the worst foster homes of my life. And it was the third foster home that I was in. And it's really the reason that I wrote the book. I wrote the book firstly because I needed to get all of this stuff out of my head that I had gathered up and held in, psychologically for so long. It's just like psychological baggage. It's terrible. But let me just say this. Let me say this too. So at age 28, though, I boxed. I became a boxer, and that helped me to release in such a huge way so much of the physical anger and frustration and whatever else I had inside of me. It just helped me to release in that way. But writing the book really completed the whole person. So Being Too Fierce is a journey through my entire life, from the orphanage, the infant home that I was put into after my birth, and then after going home to my mother for a few months, my biological mother for a few months, going into which was one of the last orphanages here in the United States, and it was called Junior Village. And I'll tell you how bad Junior Village was. Junior Village was so bad that I'll bet you if you go online right now and type in Junior Village, you will and put in orphanage, all the keywords, put in Washington, D.C., all the keywords I'll bet you won't find much about it. That's how much of a dirty secret Junior Village was. It was designed to hold 300 African American children, or Negro children, which we were called back in the 60, 68, 69. But the problem was 900 arrived. So that the overcrowdedness and the shortage of staff and It was just crazy. It had gotten to the point where they had even built a tent city on the outside, surrounded by fence. And you can imagine that looked more like a concentration camp than an orphanage. So that all being said, there was a man by the name of Fred Taylor who was really passionate about getting that place shut down. So he was one of the founders and directors of Flock for Love of Children, which was like the premier foster care agency here in D.C. during that time. Their goal was to shut down Junior Village and to remove all of the kids who were being abused and neglected out of that environment, because they had actually started calling it a breeding ground for prisons. So in other words, the breeding ground for criminals. It was like creating criminals, and so they ended up shutting the place down in the early 70s. And I was fortunate enough to get taken to. Me and my four older brothers were taken to a great foster home. That's how the story begins. We were taken out of this orphanage, which was crazy terrible, and we were taken by these wonderful parents who really, good Christian parents who really wanted children, who really cared. They were wholeheartedly into taking care of all five of us. And then 5 years later, or almost 5 years later, disaster happened. My mother, my biological mother, engineered like the removal of us from that family. And from that point on, became my journey through through the rest of the foster care, foster homes that I went through. And I hate to use the word home, but that's what they call them, foster homes, because I would say they were foster houses because none of them felt like home except for one other one after that. But the second one was really where I felt the worst abuse, and it was just emotional, physical, even sexual abuse in that home. And it's really the reason why I had to write the book, give voice for all these young kids and people who have aged out of the system, a voice so that maybe some policy can be changed to better the foster care system. So that's really my calling right now. I'm going to go to law school, and I plan on fighting just as hard outside of the ring for foster children as I did for myself for that world title that I won back in 2002 inside of the ring. There you go.
Lisa, I want to tell you, number one, congratulations on receiving your bachelor's degree in English at the age of 45. Congratulations on. Oh, you're most welcome. Congratulations on being the IFBA Junior Featherweight Champion back in 2002.
Thank you.
I named this episode, glass ceilings for a specific reason, and as just truthfully hearing your story, and that's what you've basically been about, breaking these glass ceilings. We're noticing this nowadays when we watch this on TV. We see the Democratic presidential nominee. She's about to break this glass ceiling. Yes,
indeed. Yes. Yes,
that's
indeed.
about to happen.
Yeah.
There's so much here with your story.
Yeah.
I just received your book, so I haven't read it yet, but
Okay.
so I do have to read it, and then I do want you to come back on because we've got to go through it. But there's a few things.
Absolutely.
There's a few things I want to ask you about. For one, I do have the cliff notes here, and I understand that you and your brothers watched Muhammad Ali on TV, and you would try to mimic his moves just like every other child growing up. And that was part of the reason, I guess, inspiration of you boxing at summer camp and learning, specific tactics of the sport and, the overall toughness. So just tell me this much. When you saw a Christy Martin or when you saw a Layla Ali, how inspired were you, and what do you think of when you see people like Ronda Rousey today? I mean, I know it's different, it's mixed martial arts, but there's some connection. Like, what are your thoughts when you see some of those people just, they're trailblazers like yourself?
Let me start first with the fact that, let's see, back in 1985, 86, I began taking Kung Fu. So I had a background in martial arts. I was taking Wing Chun and Shaolin Wushu from Sifu Chang here in Chinatown, D.C., and I also practiced under Dennis Brown, and he's still alive. He's, a great, wow. I mean, he actually fought Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Did movies and stuff, and he's right here, the brother, right here in D.C., the D.C. area, and I do a little work with him still today. But yeah, my background is in Kung Fu, so I did have a few years. It was one of my outlets that I used to, when I needed somewhere to go and do something positive, I, either went to Georgetown or I went to Kung Fu class with this guy that I really liked back then. I was like, I want to be a Kung Fu expert. I'm going to, and he was really good, and he was like running the school, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this. But I really, really loved the contact. And what made me really, okay, let's first say this. Christy Martin, I do, she and Bethany Payne are the reason I began boxing. They were fighting on the Mike Tyson undercard that year.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, I got up and I was a housewife. My kids were just old enough. I had gotten back into karate. And I was like, oh my God. I was telling my husband then that this is what I'm going to do. I went ballistic. I was like, this is no more point sparring for me. I'm serious, and I was so super serious. I used to dance around, and when you say, oh, Lisa, you tried, no, I look just like Ali, honey. I thought I did. I did the Ali shuffle. I did all the little moves. And my brother, Mark, who was like the hard-headed, gung-ho Ali fan, who was the one who made us initially start watching it, instead of letting us watch like Gilligan's Island or something that we wanted to watch. He's like, no, we watching the fight tonight. I don't care. We watching the fight. So I fell in love with boxing, and I fell in love with Muhammad Ali, and I loved everything about him. And I swear, I just knew I looked like him, and I copied him. I was a very good mimic. So if a person I could mimic a person really well, how they walk, or, sometimes how they talk even, and I could mimic the moves. So for instance, I can't play basketball, but I look like I do because I can dribble and I can mimic the fact that, but I know nothing about basketball.
Hey,
I can mimic a ball play.
Lisa, I got to stop you for a second. I got to ask you this question. And,
Okay.
and I apologize right now. So
Okay.
I'm going to say, what did your friends say when you said to them that you wanted to be a fighter? Like your inside track, like your inner circle. What did they say? Did they think like you had lost your mind, or tell me about
yeah.
it.
Oh, I highlight that in the book, but I will tell you some.
Okay.
I was married to my husband, and my children were actually my son was about 6 and my daughter was 4, and they both were getting into school. They were in school finally and such. And I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to know. I'm supposed to do this. No one can stop me from doing this. And my husband was like, well, all right. Well, at the time, these are people I was in foster care, so I didn't really have family to tell this to. I could tell it to my brothers, but I didn't have a lot of family to spread it around to. And you got to imagine me. I was only like 125 pounds, and I ended up fighting at 119, and I'm about 5'7". So you can imagine how like skinny I looked at the time. Hey, but I was a tough little customer there. So anyway, I felt big in my skin.
Okay.
So I was like, oh no, I'm going to do this, and oh my God, it wasn't so much what they said to my face, It was like the look they gave me, and then the mumbling and the talking behind my back that always got back to me. So I literally was like, oh, all right, well, watch, I walked into the gym once I finally found a good one, found one that would accept me, and I walked in and I went into a traditional gym, which was all male, 14th and W Street, Midtown Youth Academy, 14th and W, where, it's the hood. It was, at the time, it was like completely the hood. And the brothers were in there, and they were like, "Oh, you going what?" I said, "I'm gonna be a world champion." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the only female in there." And I just basically took off and I went in with one guy. He was like, "Come on, come with me." This guy named Tyrone. He was like, "Come with me," and I did everything he did. Whatever he did, I did it. It was like, I'm following, and eventually he had to stop going because he had a second job, and he had to stop going, so I continued to go. But what happened was the seriousness in my goal, I gave myself 5 years, and I was like, you know what, I don't care. You don't want to teach me how to hit the speed bag? That's all right. I got this. And I watched them, and I looked, and a week later I'm hitting the speed bag. You don't want to teach me how to jump rope like that? That's all right. I got this. Because my trainer was he's probably in his late 60s, so he couldn't like physically get up and show me everything. He was having physical issues at the time, but he could tell me the best that he could. But I just, I had to spar all the guys, so that's what I did. And some days tears would come out of my eyes, but I was back in there every single day. And until tears started coming out of their eyes.
Lisa.
And then they they wouldn't come back in the gym. So hey, right?
Because you shamed them. That's what you did.
See that? See what I did there?
I see. So I guess, and here's another topic. Tell us about when you were turning pro. And you were 29 and being hypersensitive about your age.
Yeah, well, I had, as going in at 28, I knew that was old. I knew that was old in the sport of boxing. I just knew it because I knew that the boys started out at around, like, sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Okay,
right.
And so by the time I got into the gym, the 18-year-olds had already been boxing for 10 years.
Wow.
So, yeah. So when they saw me, and I came in there at 28. Now, I didn't look 28. A lot of them thought that I was, a teenager because, my small frame and such, and the way I carried myself. They thought I was, in my early 20s. And they, they respected me, and until they respected me because the head trainer there was not going to allow them not to. But they learned to really love me, and we respected each other as colleagues before it was all over. And now I look at them as my brothers and my friends, and, forever. We're like tight. And although a lot of those brothers ended up, in a little bit of trouble because of where, it's just the environment.
Right.
They still look at me. They still look at me as, hey, wow, Lisa did it. She did the thing, So it was really kind of inspiring. But yeah, going in that gym and having to, these guys would take off their clothes right in front of me. There was no locker room, and I mean, it was really get down dirty. They would take off their shorts and hang them up on the hook and leave them there all night. It was so dirty, and I was just like, you know what? This is what it is.
Right.
And so I have to be here, and this is what I said I was going to do, and this is how I'm going to have to do it. So, I just went with it.
Well, I will say this much: you've been standing up for women, pushing them to their dreams, for a while. Do you have some tips that you can give some of our, not just female listeners, male listeners too, on getting ahead?
Okay, well, one thing that I say is, speak it into existence.
Yes.
The first thing, if you really feel like you can do something, I mean, let me just say this, and it goes right way back to when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I remember my foster mother. I was sitting on the steps where she had me sit every single day, and she would say things like, "You're never going, you're never going to graduate from high school. That was a big deal. Never, not to mention college, but
Right.
you're never going to get married. You're too dark. Your hair's too short. You're too skinny. Your mother don't want you. Stuff like that."
Okay.
And I mean, it dawned on me way back then that, you know what? You're not talking about me. You're talking about you.
Right.
I
there you
know
go.
me. I know who I am, and I just
there you go.
And one thing that I tell people this, Ted, I don't look at myself as a victim ever. I was not. I was in a bad situation, but I don't look at myself today as a victim or having been victimized. I look at myself as a victorious. I look at myself as a champion. So I don't even give anybody that feels like they get it. So so when I talk to young people, I say, if you really want to do something, it's like when you're boxing. If you say, "Coach, I want to do some more push-ups," then do some more. I want to be able to do 100 push-ups. Well, then do more push-ups. Don't say, "I want to do more push-ups." Do more push-ups. You'll get them. I mean, eventually you'll have to get it. I ended up training 6 hours a day, 6 days a week because I really wanted it. I went after it. I didn't let people talk me out of it.
See, and that's the important thing is you had a goal in mind. You, regardless of what anyone said, I mean, you stayed on path. You stayed on path, and
even my
like
husband,
I said,
even my ex-husband,
Uh-huh.
even my ex-husband, yes, even him, because I was like, you are not going to say no to this, and he didn't say no. He didn't. He said, all right, but in his heart, he really was getting some negative feedback from his family and such, and they were like, well, I don't know why she's, and I don't know, he just didn't, he wasn't going where I was going. And that's why I had to continue to go where I wanted to go. And I just had to be brave enough to take the chance. And I've always been that way. And here today, my ex-husband and I are best friends. We have 2 beautiful children together, and there are no regrets forever for anything that I've ever done. I own it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. There's a couple other things that you said. Ask for what you want.
Yes.
And I'm guessing because if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
Yep. Yeah. That. I learned that when I was younger. I had a court-appointed judge who I saw. She was one of the most consistent people in my life, and when we would go to court each year or by twice a year or whenever we needed to go. Her name was Judge Bacon. It was the first time anybody had asked me what I wanted, and I told her I was just like, if she asked me what I want, I'm gonna really say something. And the thing that I had always wanted to do was like be on Soul Train. So you can remember, it's back in the 70s. This was back in the 70s. So I wanted to be on Soul Train. So she asked me what I wanted to do, and I said, I really wanted to learn how to dance. So I said, I want to take dance lessons. Okay. And she was like my fairy godmother at that point. She was like, make it so. Let Lisa take dance lessons and make sure she's in a school. And there was nothing that foster mother that wanted me to sit on those steps and talk about it. Nothing she could do because the judge said so. And there was nothing that the social workers could do to make it not happen because the judge said so. And so once I realized, oh, wow, I can actually ask for something and I could possibly get it. And the most that can happen is what always happens is I get a no. I always got a no. So it was great to ask for something and really get a yes.
You can't be afraid of the no. And that's what I got to tell you, Lisa. I tell my daughter, who's 14, I said, the worst is ask. And if they say no, okay. I said, chances are there's going to be a time when the word no won't happen and you'll hear a yes. Because if you just sit there waiting for someone to present something to you or that, that magical chariot is going to show up, I tell her. That's not going to happen.
It is not. It is not. You got to go for it, and go hard. Go hard. I get that question a lot from young people. They say, "Well, how did you come out like you came out? How did you turn out the way that you did?" And I'm like, you know what? I was just me. And the thing is I used all that negativity. I joined any sport, and I did this on my own when I was old enough to choose for myself. Because when you're young, the foster parents have complete control over you. But when I got older and I was old enough to say no, I want to stay after school and do something. I don't know how to do anything. I was never involved or put into sports or anything. But I'm joining. I'm enough of a tomboy that I can get this, I even joined marching band. I didn't even know how to play the clarinet, and that was another thing that I wanted. I wanted a clarinet, and my judge got me a clarinet. But I joined marching band. I didn't play my clarinet very well at all because I started so late, but I could march myself, down that field. And so I just did whatever. I hated running. I hated track, but to stay on the positive, instead of going home and getting into mischief or something, I ran cross country. I ran sprints. I did whatever in the cold, honey. That was not fun, but I was like, I'd rather do this than to go home. So, yep.
I got to tell you, you definitely have an inspirational story. Tell the next to last thing I have for you, and I know I've held you on here for a while, and I want to apologize.
I'm good. It's good. I was looking forward to this.
Oh, it says, be confident in the people in your corner.
Oh,
Can you expound on that?
Yes. When you have a raggedy corner, it is not good. When your corner is raggedy, man, You can tell when a person's corner is raggedy because the people in your corner are either just like sticking a cotton swab up your nose and rinsing your mouth out and blotting your head off. They're not saying a word except for what you doing or just making small talk. You got to have somebody in your corner that's going to instruct you on what you should do next, or, there has to be some sort of a, agreement that, a game plan and your confidence with them. You can't come to a fight and you can't come to life the same way. You got to come to the fight prepared. So you have to come to the fight with your own bucket and your own Inswell and your own Vaseline and your own gauze and all of your own stuff, because you can't expect that, oh my God, well, my first fight was kind of a disaster, my pro debut, and I didn't realize that my trainer needed all this stuff, and God bless his soul, he had to go out to CVS and get like gauze, and I'm like, oh my God, we're about to go on. I'm like the third fight. And it was just, it was my first fight, and I'm already nervous. And, imagine being unprepared and nervous, and then, now you don't have confidence in your corner. So, yeah, you cannot have a raggedy corner. Your corner has to be tight. So I would take that in the people that you're around. Don't have raggedy people around you. If they're raggedy, honey, get away from them, because they're going to make you raggedy.
Oh my goodness! So you have a successful family, your daughter, your son. I believe from, like I said, from my cliff notes, they either they're in the process of graduating college or have graduated already. They both graduated
now. Yeah, Taylor
Wow.
graduated from Temple this year, this past May, and it was wonderful. I'm so happy. And she and I are going to start law school together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
On fall of 2017, and my son is actually thinking about it. This is going to be fun. I'm just looking at it as a fun experience. Now, I'm looking at it as a fun experience and a way to enjoy my life with something that I actually want to do.
Gotcha.
I want to make change. I want to make change in the system, instead of foster children always getting psychologically evaluated. I want the parents to that are getting foster children. Yeah.
Amen to that.
That sounds like it, of course, but it doesn't happen though, Ted. Not happening.
Really?
Yeah.
It's sometimes, and I there's a lot of great foster parents out there, and this is not to beat on them. This is totally not to beat on them, but you have some that are out there just for the financial gain, and they look at some of these. They look at some of these children as a check or a dollar sign, or And
I'm glad I didn't have to say it. You said it for me. Thank you.
Oh,
Ted.
yeah.
I appreciate that.
We're just being real.
Absolutely. And my brother was one of my brothers ended up being in a great foster home, to the end, till he aged out, and he still calls that foster mother his aunt. And so I'm just, I get that, and I know our first one was great, but that's not the norm. And this is just the truth of the matter. If look, 2 out of 13. Come on.
Wow. So it's. I gotta have you back on. Number one, we do a radio show locally here on Long Island on Saturdays. We won't probably be able to go in depth like this, but I definitely want to get you on there to talk about your book.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you.
No, definitely, because I love the story, and this is going to, I'm going to say over the next couple of weeks, I take the Long Island Railroad, so I take the railroad to work. I have a new book now I can read
and keep
every
the
day.
Jacket on it. Keep the jacket on there.
Gotcha.
Keep that jacket on there so everybody can see it, so they can see that what you're reading, and they'll want to know.
Definitely. But I want to give you a one-time round of applause.
Thank you.
Lisa, before you go, tell us ways we can find the book. Tell us best ways on that. And I mean, this like I said, I gotta have you back here.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do a one-on-one because I want to talk with you about being an African American, trying to get your book published, some of the pitfalls and things that you had to go through, lessons learned. We won't do that tonight because I want to be cognizant of your time. But I really want, because I'm really interested in it, because when I speak with other African Americans and, other white Americans, and just to understand, like I said, it's like leaps and bounds that you have to go through to get your book published. And it's I'm sure you're going to have a unique story, but tell us where we can find it. Tell us how we can purchase it, all the above. Tell us how we can find you on social media. If we have young ladies out there that are looking for role models like yourself, how would they get in contact with you? So plug yourself right now.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you can go directly to my website, Lisa P. Cohen, Lisa P as in Paul, Cohen, COHEN.com. And you can actually, that's my website, so you can see all about what I do. And you can even check out my nonprofit, Capital City Champs. You can order my book off of Amazon.com. You can have it in the Nook form or ebooks form or the hardback. All we have is hardbacks right now, hardcovers right now. If you would like to get an autographed copy, though, you can go to beingtoofierce.com. That's BING, Too Fierce, TOOFIERCE.com, and order the book directly from me. And I'll sign it and ship it to you. And it's free shipping. And let's see. You can hit me on Facebook, Lisa Cohen, and it's I'm on Instagram, and I'm also on Twitter. So I have a few things coming up soon. There's a really popular restaurant here in D.C. that even our president and his wife could have date nights there. They're actually hosting a book signing for me there on August the 14th. That's a Sunday. So if anybody in the area hears this, come on out and see me and get a book and have lunch with me. So there you go.
Lisa, I want to thank you.
If you want to see some fight footage, you can go online and see some actual fight footage of me and my opponents, the ones that are out there, the clips that are out there. And I mean, hey, I'm all about the female boxing, and I want to also plug Clarissa Shields, our Olympic gold medal winner from last Olympics. She is back on the trail to win gold again, 2016, for the U.S. Olympic team. She's right out of Detroit, and yes, she's going to do it again.
Got you. Well, I tell you, I plan to go to YouTube later on and look at some footage of you knocking people out. That's what I'm expecting.
If you go on my Facebook page, you'll see a compilation of different knockouts.
Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. Well, here's what I'm going to do. This interview will be carved up, put on iHeartRadio and all the above, and I'm going to send it to your PR team, so that you'll have a copy of it, and we're going to do something special with your story on latenightparents.com and a few other sites. So I want to thank you for taking the time out, and I definitely will stay in touch with you. I just sent you a Facebook request, a friend request.
Okay.
So we will stay in touch and definitely want to get you back on here after I finish reading your book.
Awesome. Hey, Ted, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm going to become a regular listener now because I'm going to stay tuned and see what you're up to these days.
All right.
All right. How about that? Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, all right?
Thank you.